and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Meraki Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Meraki_media_management. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I'm so excited to have you all here today. I wanted to start off with a quick reminder. We are still currently running our free 90-minute sit down with me. If you leave us an Apple Podcast review, let us know what you think about the show. Just pop your Instagram handle in there as well so we can contact you when and if you have won the 90-minute sit down with me. Our goal is 50 reviews. It's proving to be a little bit challenging. So if you guys don't mind taking 30 seconds out of your day, if you need some support with actually writing the review and launching it, you can just Google it with some directions. There's also a YouTube video tutorial if you Google it. But yeah, we just appreciate you guys helping us support this show as much as we possibly can. And of course, reach as many business owners as possible. So this week is really on topic for being an entrepreneur, especially being a young 25-year-old entrepreneur with a family that was very supportive. But I must say, when I first got started with Meraki, there was a lot of skepticism around becoming an entrepreneur because of my age, because of, what I went to school for. I didn't have a degree in social media, and now there are things out there like that. So I remember when I first got started, my mom actually came home from work and I told her that I was planning on starting my own business. And even though she was very supportive, she was one of the first people that helped me get my first client contract, she was very skeptical just because she knew how difficult it was to actually make it as an entrepreneur. And looking back now, I'm sure if I had a child at 23 wanted to go out on their own and start their own business, I'm sure I would be skeptical as well. But it was definitely challenging because it really can hurt your mental health when you're starting a business and people are asking you questions that you don't always have the answer to yet, because when you're launching a business, it's all about following your intuition, grounding yourself, actually figuring out what you want out of life, and not just deciding to enter into a job or a role because that's what you went to school for. I remember when I was sitting in PR class at JMU and all of my professors were talking about working for a PR agency, and this is what a PR agency would expect out of writing and rhetoric and technical communication and all of the other things that need to be perfectly put together when you work at a PR agency. And it used to actually make me feel nauseous in class, if I'm not lying. I was probably a little bit hungover because I was in college, but I was definitely turned off by the fact that if I went in to work for a PR agency, that I wouldn't have any creative aspect to what I do. I wouldn't have any fluidity to my life. It would be very structured, and that was pretty obvious even just by studying PR in college. So I didn't enjoy that part of it, and I knew even as I was sitting in these classrooms hearing this over and over again for so many years that I probably would not be in an agency ever. That's just not me, especially if you know me outside of Meraki and being a business owner. I tend to not fall into many categories. I definitely march to my own drum. So I enjoy paving a new untraditional lifestyle, which is really why we started this podcast. So I'm excited to get into today's topic, and I wanted to start off by including the conversations that you have with your family on the back end as being an entrepreneur, because it's definitely scary, intimidating. Like I said, when people were asking me questions that I didn't know the answer to yet, I would feel really anxious. And a lot of this route actually led me to realizing that I did need to combat and face probably traumas that I went through in my past that would re-arise when I was being challenged or I felt like I needed to be defensive about running my business. And now, after I've done a lot of that trauma work, I'm still in the process of it, right? It's always there, and you always do have to be self-aware and work towards that. But I'm enjoying now being able to reflect and react to certain situations in business with a level head and not just jump in or have a reaction that's off the cuff, even when I'm just talking to my mom about business, because that was actually one of the most offensive relationships. When I would talk about business with her in that first year, I would feel super attacked or really caught off guard. She's asking me a lot of questions. How many clients do I need? What do my taxes look like? Am I going to have enough to pay taxes at the end of the quarter? Because we all know that that is a huge part to running a business. And I would get defensive thinking that she doesn't think that I'm doing the work and she doesn't think that I know all of this information prior. And that used to really hurt my feelings. Now I see that she more so was trying to guide me, offer advice maybe, not as much so coming from a skeptical side. So all of this came through doing a lot of the therapy and trauma work that I've undergone in these past couple months. And it's definitely positively reflected in the business. Now I find myself, even when I get a client feedback that might not be perfect or exactly how we expected it to be, I take a deep breath, calm myself down, how can I handle this situation to make the client happy, but also make myself feel in alignment? I think that that's a really important part to business. And it's difficult to do that if you don't know what may be being triggered in your body or triggered in yourself over time. Now, getting back to this idea of why starting an online business isn't a question nowadays. My mom was very challenging in the beginning when I was going all in on Instagram. What if the platform crashes? Even some business coaches of mine would encourage me to maybe think about more marketing, promotions. And now, as I look back on 2020, I'm so thankful that we went all in on Instagram, because Instagram is what every business needs currently. And with the play out of events, somehow I intuitively knew that, and I went all in on Instagram, even though some really great mentors in my life were advising me otherwise. And this is so important for young entrepreneurs to hear. I think when you're first getting started, you're reaching for any advice that you can possibly get. And when you hear all of this noise constantly, it's so overwhelming. I remember I would get up in the morning and feel like I couldn't even get out of bed because I felt like I was so conflicted in my own brain. What should I be doing? Should I be going all in on LinkedIn instead of Instagram? Should I be combining the two? Should I be catering all of my services to this one type of client and become a marketing agency? There were so many questions as you're just getting started. But the best part about starting a business, especially when you can tap into your intuition, and I'm very lucky if you all haven't listened to our first podcast episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to that. I share how I got started with manifestation and tapping into the intuitive side of myself at a very young age. That really launched me into the area that I am now. It's so funny because even though my mom was very challenging, she raised me to be a super confident person, especially when I have an idea that I know is going to work. And that's what I did, right? Despite all of the noise, despite all of the people trying to maybe offer advice, but it wasn't coming across in a way that I was feeling like I needed to receive it. And if you're tapping into that side of who you are and understanding what your true desires are, what you actually want out of your business and out of your life, the more you can take the action steps to set yourself up for that. For example, one of my overall arching goals is to have several rental homes over the next, 5 to 10 years. That's a goal of mine. And the reason why is because I want to set up reoccurring income for Sean and I as we head off into the next chapter of our lives. And just because I know that goal, it set us up to save different types of money or look at different types of apartments and understand what is appropriate to invest in and what isn't. And this is the power of running an online business. This is what happens when you step into the online space. You're not afraid. You're giving literally zero fucks about what anyone else thinks, and you're just going all in. And when you start to take the bits of information that are resonating with you and creating your own opinions on it, creating your own plan out of it, that's when your intuition can really help you launch your manifestation goals and start to take those action steps forward. But until you know what you want, it's very difficult to take those steps. That is why I'm a firm believer of doing this mental health work before you start your online business, especially because in this space, it's noisier than ever before, right? There's so many people online. I mean, you can scroll on Reels and TikTok and get information about skincare. And then in the next Reels, you're taking in information about launching an online business. It's crazy how much knowledge and education is being shared and spread on this platform. But we have to be mindful of how much we are consuming, how much advice we are taking in, and how can we start to monitor that on this application. You all know that I am huge on monitoring how much time you're spending on Instagram, but also monitoring how the application is making you feel. I know that when I was getting started with Meraki, I was taking in so much information, these opinions of my family members, these opinions of my mentors. And then on top of it, I'm enrolled in a course. And then when I hop on Instagram, I'm also seeing my same coach share more information about, Instagram stories and how to talk online. And it's overwhelming. What you have to do is shut everything down, spend your 20 minutes a day, put the application away, make sure that you're limiting your knowledge intake so that you can tap into exactly what you want. And that is really what we believe here at The End in Mind and at Meraki Media Management. So I hope this encourages you all to dive in, but make sure that you get clear on your goals first before you start taking those action steps towards something that might not be in alignment for you and what you want. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you take a few minutes to leave us a review. Let me know what you're thinking. Of course, pop your Instagram handle in there so we can reach out to you if you win our free 90-minute sit down with me. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Meraki_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course, I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.